Hi everyone, we are live again. Thanks Joseph and Cedric for being on the call on this live stream. We are streaming to the Facebook group where we focus on how to build great engineering teams, and we want to learn today what are the differences between a VP engineering and a CTO. And to give you guys some little context, my mentee asked what is this difference, and he has a few questions because he's considering the shift from a VP engineering role to a CTO. So today, with both Joseph and Cedric, who are CTOs, we'll be talking about these differences. What is their view? And Joseph, I remember you were a VP engineering, now you're a CTO. Cedric, you are a CTO. Have you also been a VP engineering at some point?
Well, maybe the title was like that, but it's maybe guide for everything technical. Yeah, it was more a proxy to a remote branch where the software developers were. So I was maybe VP engineering / CTO / whatever at the beginning.
In a smaller company, one person actually wears multiple hats, right? And I guess this is the case also in a small startup. So this will be interesting comparison. We can compare your two companies, Godcourts, right? Cedric is smaller in the team size than Joseph's team, right? So why don't we start with you, Cedric? What are the differences that you see in the VP engineering and a CTO role? What would you advise to this VP engineering?
Well, in a smaller company, I think the differences are not really big, right? I mean, VP engineering in a team of let's say below 10, and being a CTO is, I think, goes quite hand in hand because you're still responsible of the technology, the software development, and so on and so forth. But you're also responsible for the recruitment, the development of the people, process, and everything. So I think these two roles are quite a synonym to each other, to go hand in hand. But when the company grows, and that was what was I referring to my previous role, I also had like 60 developers, and I was a proxy to the Swiss branch of it. And there, let's say, my responsibilities were more on project level, let's say on a matrix, on a horizontal level than on a line level, but also in the recruitment. And I totally took my foot out of the technology part, right? So I wasn't responsible of choosing technologies or code reviews or everything. I was responsible of the process and the hiring and of the smoothly transitioning of the projects back to the customers. But I wasn't related really into technology anymore. So I think, yeah, in a smaller team, I think both roles, as I understood it, are very, very similar. But as you grow, I think that's where the big difference is.
Joseph, what about you? Now in your team, there are 17 developers, right? Team members. What's the difference that you perceive?
So it's, as you said, in the past company, in Hotel Quickly, it was more of the VP role. Now it's more CTO role. So like the biggest difference is really the highest level decision making. So now as CTO, I'm part of the strategy meetings and part of the kind of more guiding the whole company or deciding on the matters that are about the whole company business model, strategy, and everything. Where as a VP, I was really focused only on the technology and product itself, and was more like the information where the company is going, where we are heading, what is the goals, what is the strategy. That was coming from my CTO, basically. And it was really, I could focus on the VP of engineering, SVP of engineering, on the execution, technology, and the operativeness of day-to-day in product.
And when you say you now focus also on strategy, you have some strategy meetings, what would you say is the percentage? This is also one of the questions my mentee asked. Like, how much time can he expect to spend on the strategy meetings?
It depends on the time in the company, obviously on the size of the company, and also in the evolution of the company. Because if it's maybe you are preparing a deck for investment for next year, next round of investments, right? And then you are actually creating the strategy for that you present to the investors. Probably I spent a bit more time on these topics, right? Where we actually decide what we will present to investors, where we want to take the company in next 2 to 5 years. Then it's more about really spending time in strategy. But other times where maybe you just received the investment round, you don't really need to look, you have the strategy defined, and it's now about execution. And then it's maybe 95% operations, basically.
Yeah, I can back Joseph there. So it's really a top-down approach from the board, what you decide to do in the next semester, in the next year. And then you go through the steps, what is needed on the technology side. And also in the marketing, the same thing actually happens, what is needed there and in the sales and so on and so forth. But from those goals, you basically look at what is needed in the engineering team to do. And yes, that's 95, roughly, the percent that you spend on. But then also don't forget that during those periods, you have to relook at those steps and the decisions. Maybe they have shifted, maybe a priority is somewhere else now. Something's delayed or some other decision has been made that you have to rework through it. So it doesn't just sit there and you just work through the task list. It's also constant reviewing where you are. Is there something that has changed, or are there other actions needed?
And speaking of the priorities, as a CTO, you are actually part of the team defining the priorities, right, and the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. I mean, again, it's a top-down approach. If the global strategy says we want to do this or we want to go to B, then every party involved of this journey basically knows what they have to do in their team. So they say, "Ooh, that's a bit tricky. We need to do this first in order to do that." Then you have to set priority in the team. Okay, but in order to do this, we have to shift this a little bit back because with the resources we have today, we won't be able to do it. So yes, definitely you're part of the whole prioritization and decision making.
And now I'm just wondering what kind of person would really fit these two different roles best. Do you guys have any idea, like any personality trait or some characteristic that you would say, oh, like he enjoys meetings, so he's better for a CTO role, and this guy enjoys whatever, so he's better fit for VP engineering? Is there something like that ever?
Yeah. So
you go, Joseph.
I think that let's assume that it's a sizable company and neither of those two roles is actually responsible for the coding. Because if you are five people startup, then in either role, either CTO or VPO, you are still coding, right? But let's assume it's a bit higher, and those two are actually managers, more like spirit people that don't do the day-to-day coding, but more take care of the functioning of the team and delivering the product. So in that scenario, it's for CTO, I would say, somebody who is more interested in the business itself. Maybe it's simplistic, but I would say CTO more somebody who is more interested in the business side, and VP of engineering somebody who is more interested in technology side. So I would say this is maybe simplistic, but maybe good starting point. Like think about where you are more interested. How the business works. Do you want to be part of the creating the business model? Do you want to be part of all the sales meetings and defining kind of strategies on this level? Or do you actually rather spend time figuring out how to best solve the problems that the company tries to solve with technology?
Yeah, I agree there. You need to be able to do the gymnastic splits between the two worlds. So you need to understand technology quite deeply, but you also need to be interested in the whole business aspects. You need to understand what marketing needs to grow the business. You need to know what sales needs to grow the business. But I think also one important characteristic is as a CTO to be able to speak in non-tech language, because sometimes you need to explain why something needs to be done on the IT side, and you need to be able to explain it so the others understand, because clearly you speak to people that don't have the same background as you have, and also they or you don't have the same background as they have. So when they talk sales, language, and you don't understand it, well, we have to kind of understand it. But I think it's always useful to speak in metaphors, to explain things, how things work on the technology side, and why we have to take this step in order to fulfill something. And I thought, or experienced it as very valuable when talking to non-tech people.
Indeed, I really like the use of metaphors. A colleague of mine uses metaphors daily, and it's always great fun. So I could imagine how the other executives would also appreciate it. Which reminds me of the next question from the mentee. He asked, "What is your relationship with the with the rest of the management team, executives? Do you guys have some meetings weekly as a CTO? Now, say, could you compare it with the VP engineering? Is he or she also part of this, or what is the common setup? What this mentee can expect upon becoming a CTO?"
Well, relationship, that again depends on the size of the company and then how corporate it is already. But in a startup, your relationship to the other executive board is, these are people. If they were all women, you would marry them, right? The relationship is very close, because you have to move this shit forward, and it's in a very intense relationship. And I think as the company grows wider, I think the distance between the multiple roles get a bit bigger. So other than being in meetings, you probably don't spend a lot of time together, right? But I think one of the questions of you, Michael, was how much time you actually spend together in meetings. So that also depends how your process overall is set up. So in our case, we have several meetings a week. One is just an alignment all over C levels, right, where we orientate each other what's going on this week and what are goal dependencies and so on and so forth. Then other meetings are alignment on roadmaps, but this is also on a weekly basis for each channel, right, sales, marketing, growth, and so on and so forth. And then there are quarterly planning meetings, reviews. So it's quite a process-driven touch base process, where it's like a Swiss watch, right? You go through these meetings and review and just try to improve every week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the VP engineering would not be part of this executive.
I don't think on everything, but it's more related to the CTO, because CTO needs input. I mean, again, when you have a big company, the CTO doesn't know every single developer and every single team and what their problems are specifically. So you get a high level input from the VP of engineering to get his input, so you can make the right decisions and communicate them on C level.
I see. What about in your case, Joseph?
Yeah, I think the big, I already said it, the big difference is that as CTO, I'm more concerned about the functioning of the overall company, not just the product or technology team. And that's where where kind of the relationship with the other executives came in place, because we do meet periodically to solve the company-wide issues. Could be from HR issues to acquisitions potential, to investment, to budget creation, to any other things that are solved on the executive role. Where in my past role as VP, I never was part of these. I was communicating with other executives, but it was more because of the kind of project based, right? If there is a big growth spurt, obviously and I maybe lead the implementation on the product side as a VP. And obviously I spent a lot of time with CMO or CSO, right? And I do spend with them a lot of time to figure out like how we will achieve the growth. But maybe other times then I'm maybe working on some, favorite refactoring project or some more like restructuring, more technical in the base, then maybe I'm not in touch with them as much as a VP. Where as a CTO, it's usually like, it's really more like on weekly basis, not just on the project-based, but on the weekly basis, because every week there are some issues that you need to solve as the leadership of the company.
Mm-hmm. I like how you mentioned that you are concerned now as a CTO more about the whole company, not just technology or product only. And I'm wondering, are there some parts of the company that you are solely responsible for, like something that no one else is responsible for, just you as a CTO? What would that be?
Yeah, from the definition of the role, it's the technology itself. So I am solely responsible for the technology, choosing the right technology and changing it, adapting it, whatever is needed. That's obviously the responsibility up to me. And it can depend like who are the other executives because maybe those other executives have no clue about the technology. And it's then you are accountable, responsible, and you don't need even to get any kind of discussion with the others. But maybe some others, you may have a CEO who has a product background or maybe was a bit more involved. And then maybe it's about discussion. And then you are, as a CTO, responsible to come up with maybe the technological changes that you want to do and have a discussion with the CEO, who, if he is able to have the discussions, right? But this really depends on the specific people in the executive team.
I see.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, it's mainly responsible for the technical limitation. I mean, nobody is going to tell you what language to use to solve whatever problem. But also, I think, and people tend to forget that, is what you're also responsible for is you have to inform your colleagues, and especially then of the board of directors, is about also the risks you have in IT. So, whatever solution you do, there are always risks and challenges that you couldn't address at the time of development. So they need to be aware of it, so everybody can make the correct decisions, right? So it's also inform about the risks in your department. And also as a CTO or even VP of engineering, you will delegate tasks. I mean, it's a pyramid, right? So you can't do everything yourself. So that's why you have people and everybody basically solves those solutions, but you also delegate things. And delegation means, yes, somebody else is doing it, but you never lose the responsibility of the delegation. So when something's done, you're still the one responsible for delivering it, right? So, and as a CTO, the responsibilities get even bigger, because it's probably going to be delegated through multiple levels. So you're still responsible that something is delivered correctly, and the risks, challenges, and blah, 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 so I think that's important to know as well.
Mm-hmm. I like that you mentioned this, because he was also asking me during the call, like, hey, what about risk management? What are the areas I should take care of as a CTO compared to VP engineering, which from what you say, there's a lot more to take care of. This could be probably a topic for the next discussion, how to build a great team, what are some of the risks to mitigate, and how. So maybe we can touch upon this next time. What do you guys think?
Sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So shall we wrap it up? We are almost 20 minutes live. We are recording even for longer than last time, which is also great, because we are able to pull all these golden nuggets from your brains, technical brains, which is great. So let's wrap it up for now, and we will certainly schedule a next call.
All right. Thanks.
Cool.
Bye.
Good day.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Take care.